I'm a little curious about how robust the game is in terms of being able to handle some modifications and whatnot. This is an odd thing for me to do, but the group that I'm in, that I went and gamed with yesterday, by the way, we played Dune Imperium, which was sold to me conceptually as a combination of like Dominion and worker placement. That was how they kind of put it to me, and I wasn't thrilled because I hate worker placement, right? It wasn't that bad in terms of worker placement. You start off with 2 workers. The most you can get is like 4 that you get to actually place. But it had a little bit too much constantly changing game state for my tastes. But I was drunk enough that I could win. So, and I think not be too big an AP problem. Okay. So, I'm going to explain how I'm going to play this game of CE. And no, it's not going to be anything within their normals. All right. So the first thing I wanted to do is I want to deal with multiple powers, which is not allowed by the rules in this, but it used to be. I liked 3 powers per player. I thought that was really cool. Now, we used to do something like deal 4, throw 1 out or whatever. I kind of like just, you get 3 at random, man. That's what you get. Do the best you can with them, because that allows you less capability to kind of like try to manipulate. And sometimes we do draw 3, pick 2 or something like that. But anyway, you had an ability to manipulate unfair sets. I'm only going to play with 4 players because there's a lot of chaos and complexity in the game, and I think, you know, I'm going to be adding more. For the main deck, since I'm going to be dealing out 3 flares to each player instead of 2, and it's already a fair number of players, I'm going to throw the large player deck in there, but I am going to play with this deck. Now, I need something to distinguish it because it's going to look a lot like the other deck. This is the rewards deck that you get for defensive. I find it an intriguing idea. I may find that it's too hard to distinguish these symbols from one another, though. One possibility would have been to throw that in the main deck as well. I like what it offers, though. Like this extra option of something a little different that may be better in certain circumstances. But you don't have to take your rewards from it. You can take it from the main deck. I'm going to play with the tech rules because they're new to me. And I'm going to play with the rule, each planet you lose cancels out one of your powers of your choice. So you want to keep all 5 planets with your bases on it. This is very, very different. And, you know, I may have played this kind of thing solo before. I've never brought it to other players. And, you know, given that I'm likely to play this next week or sometime in the near future, because the group does play it relatively often, kind of in the mood to see, you know, maybe I can bring them some variation to what they're used to, with more chaos. All right, so I'll shuffle some things up and I'll get back to you. And I'm not going to have the original Filch Wild in there. And I decided if I'm not going to do that, I won't put the Schizoid in either. Although the Schizoid doesn't bother me. It's kind of cool. Like, it also is just like totally demolishes. Here's the problem. If anybody's winning, except through special victory conditions due to their power, if anybody's winning the game, the Schizoid Wild can just steal it from them. And so it just becomes who's holding that fucking card, which feels pretty damn lame, to be honest. The Filch Wild, I don't know how I feel about it. But how do I determine whether somebody's caught and, you know, how audacious they're going to be or whatever? I suspect I'm going to run into other things in the game that are going to be problems, though. And that's just a matter of, this is not a game that plays well solo. The original, sure, it did. But the more complexity and interaction you start getting into it, so it's quite possible I'll end up quitting just on the basis of, yeah, I can't do this, man. Especially if something like Moon Tune comes up, because I am not going to sing. Interesting, you actually can't just shuffle these in. I thought it said to do so under one of them. They're a different back than most of them. Let me look at that for a moment. Point out with my variant dealing out 3 powers, and everybody just holds on to the powers they get. That means there's not going to be any flares in there that don't have an associated power. Now, the only reason that those were kind of interesting back when we used to play was, and there's actually not going to be that many flares proportionally. I'm looking at a dozen flares with a fairly large deck. But it is 50% more than would normally go in, and I added less than 50% of the deck. So this is about the balance that they liked. We used to, I think, like a heavier balance of flares. But anyway, the reason that those extra flares were kind of interesting. So you'd be dealt, you know, let's say, let's see what we would be given. Say 4 or 5 cards. Well, we weren't. Right? Were we? Yeah, we used the flares for that. We would deal out 4 or 5 cards, and then you would pick 3 of those. But what you didn't pick, then like 50% more flares would be added in. And I don't think we used the ones that you chose not to use. And sort of the idea behind that was, yeah, everybody would know what flares were out for the major power, for the actual player powers, but there were some secret ones that nobody knew about. Given that I don't know anything anymore, and that things have changed, that even if I remember stuff, well, Filch works the way it used to, right? Even if things changed, they're going to be surprising to me anyway. And also, I'm playing solo, so anything anybody actually holds, I kind of know in the back of my head. But we're going to go for as much randomness and massive chaos as we can under the case of me as a single player playing, you know, all 4 powers. All right. So then the first thing I do, let's give everybody their piles, is I start fishing out the powers that people have, and then I'll shuffle the flares into here. Fortunately, whoever owned this before me did not alphabetize these, which means that that's going to be my first task. Always keep these in alphabetical order. That way you can find what you need. Ducky is more like evil marshmallow peeps. Right, I spread them all out. Not all letters are taken, but yeah. And now I can stack them and find things easily, or not stack them, since it's easier to find things at this point. I noticed a couple missing that I kind of missed. One is there used to be a terrorist. I don't remember if Plant was in here. Yeah, Plant's in there. There used to be a terrorist. Maybe that got gotten rid of because of, I don't know, terrorism has become kind of not it was never considered a good thing, but like in the discourse it's become, you know, a worse thing to say. It would be like if one said Nazi or something. I wouldn't have put it past the original. They may have changed it. There's one that's extortionist that I didn't really look at, but a terrorist kind of had an extortion type capability where they put bombs and like could force you to do things. You know, they could demand that you do things that blow you up. The one that I really miss, though, is Silencer. It had an image of a snake on it, but it's cool. I don't remember. I think it was the main ability of the character, of the player, but it might have been in the flare. But it had the capability of just saying, shut up to someone. And then they could not speak. They couldn't invite allies, but that has a widely varying capability on different powers, which it may have been, yeah, this can be unbalancingly powerful in terms of just neutering someone. The way I always used it was, we had a guy in our group who used to whine a lot. And, you know, I would just turn to him and say, shut up. every time a turn started, as soon as he started speaking, shut up. And he just, you know, whether it had a game effect or not, I didn't care. It was just like, keep him quiet. All right. I will finish setting up, but my battery is nearly dead, and I can go watch me some more videos. Okay, so I dealt out the picks that came out, completely random, for the different powers. Let's take a look at them. And this is, you know, like I said, if you start playing with multiple powers, however you engineer it, you're going to be playing very, very different games every time. Let's start looking at these. Vacuum takes other ships to the warp. You have the power of catharsis. Whenever you lose ships to the warp, use this power, can be zapped, to take along up to an equal number of other ships. You specify which players have to lose them and how many each player must lose. The targeted players decide which colony or colonies to take them. This is really, really painful. Like, you attack someone, yeah, whatever happens, anytime you're losing ships, you can force other players to lose ships. And this can be very powerful in king-making type situations. There are times when people are very are very spread out. You know what I don't see? I saw the power of the void, and it may actually have come out. I thought they don't send people to the warp, but they send them to the void. And I think there was an additional, either a stick-on or something like that on the warp that handled ships sent to the void. We'll see. But vacuum kills more. And this happens, this orange here indicates which phases it can happen in. It can happen at any time. As opposed to this one, which will only happen during launch. Let's see what this is. They say demands colony or loss of cards. You have the power to bluster. As the offense, before allies are invited, and this is mandatory, if the defense has more than 3 cards in hand, use this power to bluster. The defense must either discard down to 3 cards at random, or let you establish a colony on the targeted world. If the defense gives you a colony, land any ships you have in the hyperspace gate on the targeted planet. They coexist with the defense's ships, which do not go to the warp, and the encounter ends successfully. This is nice. Doesn't feel like a might to me. Might shouldn't be blustering. If the defense discards down to 3 cards at random, the encounter continues normally. Now, what's interesting about that is when you're down to 3 cards, there's a good chance you might not have any encounter cards, and you discard and end up with 8. So, if the defense doesn't have a great hand, they might want to do it. And then they have some flavor text underneath for all of these. I don't really worry too much about that. I used to get into it because it was one of the few games that had that kind of thing. Fury avenges lost ships. You have the power of vengeance. Each time one or more of your ships is lost to the warp or removed from the game, yeah, that's the void, use this power to place 1 token on this sheet for each of your ships lost to the warp or removed from the game. As a main player or ally, after encounter cards are selected, but before they're revealed, discard any number of tokens from this sheet to add or subtract 3 from your side's total for each token you discard. Discarded tokens are spent and are not returned to the sheet regardless of the encounter's outcome. So we're going to need these. So this is kind of interesting. He has a combination between Fury and Vacuum that makes him really want to lose counters. If he had something that let him get counters back, this would be a very powerful thing. Instead, the bluster gives him a capability of essentially saying, hey, let me win and I won't hurt you with this, and it doesn't hurt me as bad as you think it does, and all kind of stuff like that. So that's a nice combination. Let's draw a couple of techs and see which one he wants, because we're going to play with all the toys. Okay, I got the Glue-On Mines, which is an X one. Do not reveal this tech until used. You can reveal and discard this tech as defense after encounter cards are selected. For each ship researching this, but before they're revealed, to send one attacking ship to the warp for each ship researching this tech. That's going to make it less likely for me to lose. It's an interesting option. One problem with it is, I don't think you never get your researching ships back, is the problem. We're going to have to look at tech to see. Extra encounter. Once completed, you may discard this tech at the end of any encounter to immediately have an encounter. Afterwards, play resumes from where it left off. So this allows you to jump in and take a turn. There are times in this game when that can win you the game. I don't like either of these. Mainly because this one cost me 6 to get. This one eats up my ships. And I never get them back. I guess I'll take this one. I'm just not thrilled with what my options are in either case. All right, let's take a look at the next player. I want to light my pipe. And it. He's got the power to take a spin. Okay. At the start of each player's turn, including your own, use this power to reveal the top 3 cards of the encounter deck. That's that deck, I think. When they name too many things, it kills me. That's the Destiny deck. We wanted to check tech for something. I'm pretty sure, though, completing a tech card, you turn the tech card face up, i.e. revealing it, and if there are a number of cards researching the tech equal to or greater than the tech is completed, you get the ships back. Yeah, so that's the whole thing. You never reveal those X's, so those are... Since this is one that just keeps getting used, yes, it's a nice power, but I hate the idea of eating up all my ship, or a fair amount of my ships. On the other hand, you can reveal... Oh, no, this is a one use. Wow, that's really not that impressive. Being able to kill some things, I do that, man. Okay, let's take a look at this. If all 3 revealed cards are different card types, negotiate, attack, reinforcement, etc., then discard a card of your choice from your hand. That doesn't sound good. If 2 of the revealed cards are of the same type, you may add any one of the revealed cards to your hand. If all 3 are the same type, then you can add any or all of the revealed cards to your hand. This is powerful. Get this with Machine, and he might be able to keep going for quite a while. It happens at the start of turn, though, not the regroup. So you only get, you know, one extra possible draw. And all other players must discard all cards of that card type from their hand. Wow. Like, you have to discard all attack cards? That's pretty nasty. Of course, that might mean they get a new hand, but after you take a spin, discard any revealed cards that are not added to your hand. That's a really interesting... I don't remember this existing in any form in the original. Cryo. Saves cards for later. You have the power to preserve. as a main player or ally, after allies are invited in the alliance phase, you may use this power to take one card, and it's again a use, to take one card from your hand and put it in cold storage, I remember this, by placing it face down on this sheet. Afterwards, draw a card from the deck. Cards on this sheet are frozen and cannot be looked at or drawn by any other player, nor are they considered part of your hand. If you have at least 8 cards on this sheet, discard your hand at any time to take this handful of garbage that you've been burying as your new hand. At least it's optional. It's a neat power to cull, you know, to improve your hand briefly, but then you get a handful of shit, which may not be great. Oracle foresees the opponent's cards. You have the power to foresee as the main, this is mandatory, as the main power, main player before an encounter cards are selected. Use this power to force your opponent to play his or her encounter card face up. Only after you've seen your opponent's card do you select and play your card. And this is one that can enter into some timing issues, but the game says, hey, they can be figured out. Get 2 of these to look at and think about. Collapsium hulls. Save ship. Once completed, this tech stays in play. When it's in play, when you lose an encounter, as the defense by 5 or less, one of your ships may remain on the planet instead of going to the warp. Your ship coexists with any that established colony. This can help you protect either your home planets from losing powers or your colonies that you need to win the game. It's nice. Tech Scrambler. Do not reveal this card until used. You can cancel the effect of another tech card. It has to cost equal or less to the number that you have. I want this one. Again, I'm really iffy about these ones that, you know, you put a bunch of points in and then it's a one use. I don't know. They just feel kind of iffy to me. All right, let's go to green. I feel like I don't have as much space on that side. Too much space to this side. I could shift this over, but I don't know. Okay, this one penalizes for refusing to ally. You have the power of revenge. As the main player in the alliance phase, after alliances are formed, use this power to give a grudge token. Okay, that's another set of tokens that are in here. Gotta get some of those. To each player you invited to ally but who did not do so. If you win the encounter or make a deal, each player with a grudge token discards it and loses one ship of his choice to the warp. If you lose the encounter or fail to make a deal, each player with a grudge token discards it and loses 4 ships of his choice to the warp. Lost ships cannot include ships used to ally with the other side. This is generally a defensive thing, so like people generally join in an offensive alliance if you offer it to them. This is interesting. It's nasty. If this went with some kind of increasing losses or something, it'd be really potent. Dictator controls the Destiny deck. You have the power to command. When you are not the offense before Destiny is chosen, use this power, mandatory, to take the Destiny deck, look through it, and choose a card from it. That Destiny card is played as though the offense had drawn it. On your turn, or any time you're zapped, the remaining Destiny cards are shuffled and one is dealt randomly. Okay, so the Destiny deck is essentially not used, sort of. These still get discarded, so you're going to get a balance. Yeah, you're gonna keep the balance of how many times you can hit each color in play. It's just this guy gets to control what everybody else hits, for good or ill. All right, Pygmy colonies count as half. Choose one unused player color and place the 5 extra planets in your home system. 4 in a 4-player game, or a 4-planet game. Place 2 of your ships on each of your home planets. Your player color is the color of your ships. You have the power of half. Each of your homeworlds counts as only half of a foreign colony for all other players. There can never be more than 4 ships on any of your planets, counting yours. Whoa. When determining landing order, use the timing rolls. This is important because, like, the main player gets his colony, but other people don't. Your power cannot be zapped, lost, stolen, or copied. And this requires another set of planets. Wow. He kind of wants people to attack him, I think. I'm not sure. Weird. Something a little odd. I've got an extra purple ship. I don't know how that could happen, right? Like, I can think of a few ways. This was a used game. It's possible that everybody had an extra ship in case you eat one. Okay. Or, I mean, these are plastic, so I'm assuming they were on a sprue or something like that. As opposed, I don't know, because if they were, somebody polished them off real nice. I'm not seeing any sign of that. So maybe they weren't. Maybe they were just individually formed. I just expected that. Anyway, let's take a look at a couple of texts and see what he might want. Warp space key. Free ships from the warp. Once completed, you may discard this tech during the regroup phase of one of your encounters to free all of your ships from the warp. This is nice. Oh, I gotta get another thing. Quark battery, hide encounter card. When you complete this card, place an encounter card from your hand face down under it. This card is not considered part of your hand and may not be looked at or taken by other players. Later, after cards are revealed in an encounter in which you are the main player, you may discard this tech to replace your revealed encounter card with the one under this card. I like this one better. They're both one use. Let me get another player color. Analyze setup here. Bully selects losing ships. You have the power to intimidate. This happens at resolution. Okay. As an option. These are hard for me to read nowadays. As a main player, after winning an encounter to which both players revealed attack cards, you may use this power to choose which ships your opponent must lose. Your opponent loses the same number of ships he or she had in the encounter, but you take them from anywhere. If you are the offensive, and leave any of your opponent's ships on the target planet, your ships coexist there with your opponent's, unless another game effect prevents you from doing so. In which case, you do not receive a colony, and must return your ships to your other colonies. There are things that are like toxic. Like there are races that no one else can survive with or something. If you are the defense, any of your opponent's ships that you leave in the hyperspace gate return to their colonies. This is big. There's a tendency for, I remember this one from the old game too. There's a tendency for colonies to get stripped down pretty low. And look at this guy. He only has 2 guys per home planet anyway. Now, he's protected from losing his powers because he has so many home planets, because it's still less than 3. That rule doesn't change by this. But this is very strong because he can pick off colonies. So if you put like 4 guys in here, if you've got some colonies and you're close to winning or something, there's a good chance that he can knock you right back down. So he's going to be very, very dangerous and keep a balance to the game. Keep a balance that prevents anyone from winning. Can use attacks as reinforcements. Reserve. You have the power to reinforce. Again, optional on the reveal. As the main player or ally, after encounter cards are revealed, you may use this power to play 1 or more attack cards of value 6 or less from your hand as if they were reinforcement cards. Wow! As a main player, and you can do this as an ally. That's huge. As a main player or ally, are these all the same color? Yeah. So you could actually shuffle these if you wanted to. But when another player plays a reinforcement card, you may use this power and discard a negotiate card to cancel and discard the reinforcement card. Okay. That's weird. And finally, Shitzoid. Happens all the time, mandatory. Changes the goal of the game. And there are some cards for this. Take the 6 Schizoid cards, choose one of them, and place it face down on this sheet. Take the other 5 and place them face down somewhere else. You have the power to alter reality. The Schizoid card that's face down on this sheet lists the victory conditions players must fulfill in order to win the game in normal victory. The conditions on the Schizoid card replace the normal victory conditions of accumulating enough foreign colonies. Oh, that changes lots. Alternate victory conditions, such as those of the masochist or TikTok, are not affected by the power. Any player who has completed the normal victory conditions may play a cosmic zap on you at any time to win the game. So this is essentially, like, all you have to do is have a cosmic zap to bring the normal victory into case. This is how the game used to work as well. Each time you are on the losing side of an encounter, the winning main player randomly chooses a card from the Schizoid deck and reveals it to the winners of the encounter, then shuffle the chosen card back into the deck. So you get hints, but there's not a point where you know unless you've hit all the hints, and I don't know how we're gonna note the hit all the hints. I think what we'll do is a die roll type thing. To handle that. Okay, let me look at the Schizoid choices since we've got that dude. And there may be one that's just better than the others. We're not playing with the original Schizoid. It's just too potent. Xenophobe. To win the game, a player must have at least 3 foreign colonies and then successfully reestablish a home colony on a home planet he or she has lost. So it's base victory conditions plus something else. And by the way, the Schizoid has to reveal if somebody wins. Bluffer. To win the game, a player must have at least 4 foreign colonies and then fail to make a deal. To win the game, a player has to have at least 3 foreign colonies and successfully make a deal. To win the game, you have to have at least 3 foreign colonies with 4 or more ships on each. 3 foreign colonies in the same system. 3 foreign colonies, and then draw a new hand. So you can see, it's not changing the victory conditions too much. I wish I had had this. I seem to remember the old one didn't use cards or anything like that. You could define the victory conditions as you liked, which is a very Eon Games thing. It had to be equal between everyone or something along those lines. Do we have something here? Maybe that's the super. If this flare is there, you reveal it and write the victory conditions down instead of choosing the Schizoid card. Yeah. The condition must be possible for all players, be clear to all, not require remembering past events, and require at least 3 foreign colonies. If this leads to your hand, you reveal your written condition to all players. And I think then it's in play still. So just getting this flare. Now, I don't know if that's what the super is on the base one. I don't remember what the original Schizoid was. It was not a deck of cards. I don't know if I've ever played with it either. But it might have just been you write down your own victory conditions. And remember, if you lose this, your victory condition goes away. So this is kind of an iffy one in terms of total power. Bully was the one I like. Doesn't really help me. I'm not good at keeping ships, making deals. Not particularly good at that. Failing to make deals, maybe I'm good at, but that's 4 foreign colonies. I don't know. Same system. There's this. That's kind of appealing. Drawing new hands. I'm not particularly in that position, but knowing that is valuable. I'm going to choose this one. Unless my tech changes my mind. Let's see what my tech options are. Because none of those really give me an advantage. The cocks. Force ally. Once complete, you may give this tech to another player. When you invite them to ally with you, they must ally with you and send 4 ships, although they are not required to abandon any colonies in order to do so. That player may later give this tech to another player, including you, and so on. I get the feeling that this becomes a power, like the other player doesn't have to research it or anything. It just gets passed around. Could be useful. Enigma device. Reset all hands to 8 cards. Once completed, you may discard this tech. Each player starting with you and continuing clockwise either draws cards from the deck or discards cards at random as needed to bring his hand exactly 8. You, and only you, may discard as many of your cards as you wish beforehand. That sounds like drawing a new hand. If you get rid of all of your cards. I'm going to say that's what it is and go with that one. So we should have 4 in here. We've set everyone else. We've set everyone up. Who'll go first? In the original, you flipped a tile to see who went first. By the way, player order matters in this. Like seating order, as in many games. But it felt to me particularly problematic. It's not as bad as like Scrabble. Okay, so we're going to just say blue goes first because it's essentially a random thing. You deal and then you reshuffle until to get a color. So, I mean, it's just a, hey, let's have a mechanism that uses the components of the game instead of a die or whatever. I'm fine with, I picked blue over in that corner and I'm good with that. All right, we are going to pause because I'm almost out of battery. We're ready to go. I think the only person who needs tokens is over here. I don't remember what is, I've already forgotten what the powers are. They begin to link to you, you begin to realize them more, but when the game is this chaotic, sometimes it is hard to keep track of all the board state. And much as I've been complaining recently about games where I have to keep track of all the board state, I kind of found the surprise nature of the board state, or the game state, to be one of the positives of the whole thing. It was like people grabbed shit out of their ass. And, sometimes that's kind of cool. I find that a lot less, and it reminds me of the "nobody can stop me now" in Geronimo. You forgot about the Pawnee! Who came back from like nearly death to prevent a victory. But anyway, I mean, it's things like that that I don't really mind. the question is, so I had trouble, again, with the Dune Imperium, I had trouble assessing everything because there's so many new things came up all at once. Here, there's a stability. Now, I've made my choice to create a certain amount of chaos, but other than the tech cards, there's a certain amount of stability to the game at this point. All right, I am going to, and by the way, you for the tech, you have to, at the start of the player's regroup, before the offense retrieves a ship from the warp. Oh. Wow, that allows research more often than I thought, by a lot. Which was the opposite of what I was going to say, so I'm going to shut up now. Right, I guess it's time to deal out cards. I thought I was already there and I was ready to start, but now I see, yeah. As far as I can tell, it's 8 cards per player at this. I really remember it being 7 before. Maybe I should look. From memory, yeah. In the Eon version, it's 7, and I assume also in the Avalon Hill, since it's basically just a rip of it. Although it may have a few more alien powers in it. I know people complain that it has too few, and it does. But I think it has more than the original Eon version did. It was indeed 7 cards, and my feeling is that the expansions to the old Eon, they decided you need 8 cards because of flares and kickers and all this shit kicking around in your hand. Used to be, you know, in the original game, 7 cards worked pretty well, but with all the additional crap added on, I think the 8-card hand actually makes a lot of sense, and I bet you they came to that as a balancing factor, just to make sure that you don't lose your hand too often. Cards to each player. The Dictator is going to get to choose one of these each time. He gets to choose any card, not just the colors, so he could choose a wild. You wouldn't want to do that. You want the good cards to be in there for yourself when you have to draw. Let's take a look at what a hand looks like, just to give you an idea. Yes, I have extra flares in there. Okay, Reserve and Bully are going to be wild. Might is super. And again, I'm playing with the flares. You can play each one once per turn, but you can play each one. So I got Super Might. When you use your power, you may take any cards your opponent discards as a result, look at them, and add any of them to your hand. What is my usual ability? Okay. They're very, very different. It's not a replacement, by the way, for their power. This is the Flare has this power. In fact, usually the Wild is closer to what the power is. These others, Reserve, when another player discards a reinforcement card, whether after playing it or not, i.e. if they have to throw their hand away, you may take it and add it to your hand. Reinforcement cards you play are discarded as normal. That's not as powerful. There's a flare that allows you to do this with attack cards, which is really potent. That's the one that lets you keep going. It's probably Machine Wild or something. Bully, as the main player, when your opponent reveals a negotiate, you may force that player to either immediately give you a colony on a planet of your choice, where they have a ship, or else lose 2 ships of their choice to the warp. Cards changed to negotiate cards can still trigger this event. Whew. Okay. But you can see I only have like 4 encounter cards, and they're not great. However, I don't have a choice. Now let me look at the tech because this is the absolutely new thing as opposed to the powers, the individual powers. To research a tech card, okay, using technology. At the start of the player's regroup phase, which comes right after starting turn, before the offense receives a ship from the warp, each player may research their tech card, complete it, or do nothing. All right. Ordering starts with him. I'm going to go counterclockwise. That's just the way I do things for whatever reason. Infinity Drive. This is a useful thing to build up. I am going to drop one on it. This one I think is very useful. I'll drop one on it. I don't know. Like, this is a one-time. Yeah, this is a one-time it gets discarded. But, hey, buying them, you know, everything's in place. At this point, Enigma, reset all hands to 8 cards. This is potentially my victory condition. Impact. I don't know if I want to commit a dude yet. Why not? All right. Now, do I want to be attacked? Maybe? I have to do this shit. That's what sucks. Ugh. The pygmies really don't feel like pygmies to me. Like, feels like their planets are pygmies, not them. Damn, what do I do? I hate this. I want to flip the card. I got a moth I'm trying to catch, which is why things went all jiggly. I really want to flip cards as opposed to dealing with this dictator power where I have to make choices. Gosh, I just don't know. Well, let me look through the cards, see if there are any specials that are kind of bonage that I want to get out of there. Start of a player's turn. So before I make this decision, yeah, this is... I draw 3 of these and reveal them. We got 2 Encounter and a Flare. If 2 of the revealed cards are the same type, you can add any one to your hand. Well, attack 20 sounds likely to be good. I got a lot of big attacks, but there's not really a reason to take low attacks. I would have loved maybe to get the Flare, but... And the balancing of there being more flares in here may affect things, but I tried to keep the balance correct by putting the right number, by utilizing the large number of players deck so that the flares don't overweigh things, even though this guy's got like 3 flares in his hand. All right, I was going to pick purple. Why? Well, mainly because of Bully. Bully has the power to intimidate it as a main player after winning an encounter in which both players revealed attack cards. You can use this to choose which ships your opponent has to lose. Let's say the opponent, blue, puts 3 ships in here, or 4, or whatever. We can take away one of his home planets. That takes away one of his powers the way I'm playing it, right? You lose powers for the first 3 planets you lose. Yeah, it's pretty nasty. So, now I got to do some serious thinking with blue. We can look through this, regroup destiny, that's what we just did. Launch, this is where I make my decision of what I'm doing. I want to look at my hand and think about it. I have some nastiness here. Each time one of my ships is damaged. I put a token as... Now notice, this doesn't say use. So each of my ships is worth 3 points on my side's total. Power of Bluster. Just have to keep looking this up. That's a powerful capability. Vacuum. Lets me suck other people's ships in. My hand. I can't remember anything anymore. What was Might Super? When you use your power, you may take any cards your opponent discards as a result. Look at them and add them to your hand. Discarding whatever you don't want. With all these flares, that's a powerful hand. Remember, another player discards a reinforcement. You may take it and add it to your hand. The Mayfair one, you got to use the flares once, so they were kind of like I don't know what the artifacts or whatever are called in this. What is my might power? By the way, I'm limiting this to using the might power. Okay, if the defense has more than 3 cards, I can use it to bluster. This is done during the launch phase. The defense either has to... Okay, I've got to put my ships on first. I am going to try to avoid losing something by putting this here. I'll attack his weakest planet because why not? And now I get to bluster. And I can super that if I want to reveal that. And he has to discard down to 3 cards or let me have a colony before anything's been played. I have a force field, stops allies from showing up. A lot of combat cards. What does Bully do? If I win the encounter with attack cards, I have reserve to play smaller attack cards. I have one. And then this stupid, I change the victory points. That's very weak, given the card choices that are present. That is not a power that I particularly find to be terribly useful. Well, do I want to give him a base or do I want to discard a lot of cards? Shit. See, if I give him a base, he wins, he gets to go again. Maybe he picks me again. Forces me into that ugly position. Might is as the attacker only? Yeah. And he likes to kill ships. I'm going to give the base. And that lets blue go again. But first, green gets to choose, but maybe there are other firsts. Let's look for anything that's early. Pygmy is throughout the game. This is the Destiny. I'm just looking to see Bandit. This was at the start of the turn. We already did that. Might is the launch. Gotcha. I gotta change batteries. Fuck. I'm trying to think what green wants to do. He failed to decrease his hand. He failed to cause the attack cards thing that causes Bully's effect, which is choosing who dies. He failed in a lot of things. But now there's a 2-ship colony here. That's not good. That's really easy to wipe out. So I might want to choose purple again. Purple got chosen again. This power is kind of interesting because it means that the victory conditions are going to be 3 or 4 planets, planetary colonies, not the full 5. An interesting thing. So having to get a full 5 means that, like, the power zap isn't that easy. It doesn't make it easier. These are easier under other circumstances. All right, we did pick purple again. Blue is going to throw 2 into play. Did I miss something? The fuck is planning? Oh, when you place your cards. I can bluster. Again. Does purple want to give him another base? You know, I don't want to get hurt with my cards and whatnot. I'm going to just do it again. It was good once. I'm going to do it once more. Now, that was 2 successes. That ends his turn. Yeah, it's an end of a successful encounter. That means we're going to go to red's turn. I'm going to grab a die just to, probably need it for some decision making, to move it over here. And we follow the same process. But I'm wiped out by doing those 2. Trying to, you know, keep in mind all the game state, essentially, right? Especially when it's so new. But I got to tell you, it's going to be hard to remember all these different powers. I don't know if my mind was more flexible back when I was around 20 and playing this, or, you know, I was playing it opposed almost exclusively. I think I played it solo once around 25, 26, somewhere in there, or maybe a couple of times with the full boat of stuff. And maybe kind of being loose about it all. As opposed to now when, you know, not only am I playing it solo, which I remember thinking this was a hard game to play solo, but I want to give it a little bit of a try, the secret elements and everything. But the thing that I'm having the most trouble with right now is maintaining an understanding of everything that's going on. Now, even when playing opposed, I remember, and we played complex shit like 3 powers per, I remember people not keeping track of stuff and accidentally, you know, cheating, essentially, either in or against their favor, by not remembering powers that were out there and all kind of shit like that. So the amount of chaos makes it a hard game to play, even in an opposed environment. I feel myself burning out. Just, you know, I mean, I'm not playing much of it, but this is just too much weight for me in terms of everything that's going on. Anyway, time to make decisions on the tech. And, you know, with someone who's able to kill your bases, the tech investment is really kind of painful. Really hard to, once you've started investing in a tech, to decide not to. Now I think we're up to Dictator, getting to make the choice of where things go. I've got to kind of look. This is all over the place. This is on launch. Oh, we forgot this. At the start of each player's turn, including your own, use this power to receive the top 3 cards, or reveal the top 3 cards. Okay. These way the discards were aligned wasn't going to work for me. All right, we have 2 encounter cards. I can add one of them. Well, I'm going to add a morph because there's only one morph. And I think I forgot to do that because I don't know. There's a lot of cards in here, so maybe I did it twice. Right. Yeah, I'm not enjoying hunting through everything, you know. The 3 powers per works okay when you're familiar with the game and not soloing it, you know. So now Dictator gets to choose. Dictator's chosen purple twice, which had its value. There is another purple in there. Blue has kind of a ouchie, I hurt you too aspect, which I might want to get out of the deck. But then there are the specials too. So this special would force someone to attack blue. I kind of, you know, I don't, is blue alone better than that? I don't know. What am I going to give red? And do I have to give him a different color? Yeah, well, if I give him a red, they can just burn that and force me, I guess, to draw another one. So I wouldn't want to do that unless I wanted to burn the red cards somehow. Why is Bully so powerful? I'm trying to figure out what... It was his special might ability that gave him these. Bully is if they win, you get to choose what the opponent loses. I think I'm going to pull a blue in this case. And I got to look at red and think about them a little bit, look at all their abilities and what they fucking do. Because every time I step away, I forget. And in fact, in the midst of a turn, I'm forgetting or whatever. We did this cryo. After you're As a main player or ally, after allies are there, you can take a card and put it in cold storage. What the fuck does that do? Ah, yes. So I can get rid of a crappy card. And that happens during Alliance. Planning, which happens after Alliance, allows me to see what the opponent's card choice is. And if I'm facing blue, I'm facing, whenever they lose ships, I start giving him tokens, which I'm not that worried about. This, whenever I lose ships, I take an equal amount of enemies. And this is only an offense. Okay. Cosmic Zap. A lot of times you used to use these, just to prevent something bad happening. But he's got a capability to get him cards. Which means I might not run out of my hand very easily. Also, there's the question of these. Fury and Pygmy, neither of which is me. Let's look at what these give me. As a main player, when you lose an encounter, you may destroy one ship belonging to each player that opposed you. Destroyed ships are removed from the game. This flare cannot reduce a player to fewer ships than the number of foreign colonies needed to win the game, which is unknown at this point. I'm guessing it's less than 5, but if you're playing in a game where, if you're playing the 4-planet game, they wanted it worded that way. And Pygmy, when a player collects rewards, they can only take half as many as usual. Rewards are what you get for defense. Huh. All right. Let's meet up on this planet. Let's put 4 in there. This is the launch. Launch effects might, but not really. Now we're in calls for alliance. Now, I have a good chance of winning this. I am not going to call for allies, but I thought there was somebody. I got to check for flares at this point, because people might have flares that allow them to jump in and do shit. Just ran across one of the flares. After the end of any encounter, you may switch home systems and therefore player colors with any other player of your choice. Afterwards, discard this flare. That is the same as the wild here. That's the crazy one I thought they were breaking it for. How crazy is the super then? If this flare is in your starting hand, reveal it and write a victory condition down instead of choosing the schizoid count. Okay. And here, you can choose a card from you can swap out. Okay. So this, which I thought this was the base condition for the schizoid, required the super capability. I'm a lot less worried about that. It's the wild that I didn't like. And being able to write your own victory conditions under the limitations that it had felt peachy to me, to tell you the truth. That one's kind of fucking weird. Switch home systems and therefore player colors with any other player of your choice. What the fuck does that mean? When I have 10 home systems. Like, obviously, if I'm winning the game with it, that's fine. But What if I had to keep playing with Pygmy without this? Would I just be No, I'd be trading the whole home system. That's going to be a problematic card in a lot of ways. The thing is, artifacts like this Cosmic Zap, anybody can use them, right? Which means that there may be key moments when I have to be aware of everybody's fucking cards. And I'm already lost. I really, you know, I'm worried how much I'm going to like this these days, because I feel like my tolerance for this amount of chaos in a game, but also for being aware of the game state to this extent, has really decreased, and not just in solo play. Now, again, I didn't feel too horrible with Dune Imperium, except for one thing. There was like this constantly changing offering of cards that I could buy, and I just couldn't focus on them at all, because it's like I have to read all these cards and think about their capabilities as I'm playing. Now, luckily for me, I went last, which meant that I wasn't given a lot of choices right at the beginning of the game. Ended up drawing like I don't know, some kind of weird card. I think it's an influence card or something, or an intrigue or something like that. And immediately saw, hey, these are pretty good. They can give you the win. And just ended up going, you know, for them fairly heavily, as well as other things that gave me victory points, that gave me a shot at it. But it definitely wasn't as long-term a strategy as the guy who owned the game and knew it best was using, which was involving pulling cards off the, buying cards and building up his deck. Because we were playing a shortened game, less victory points and whatever, and actually got shortened even more, although that didn't have any real impact. We ended up not going through the deck as many times, but he was getting a very, very powerful deck of cards that basically he could put in his hand anytime that he got his entire deck in his hand most turns. I should have been able to do over here with blue. I'm looking through their cards. They have the Reserve Wild. Whenever another player discards a reinforcement card, after playing it or not, you may take it and add it to your hand. He's going to play that, so that can't use that again. I don't know if it was used this turn. Yeah, it would have been used this turn, so I will get this into my hand. And this is the kind of, I'm going to have to be able to be flexible in this sort of way, because I can't keep track of all this shit. And I know even in opposed play, it was hard to keep track of all the different things I had available. I guess what kind of happened was there was so much to keep track of, but there was always something that was like, oh, I should be doing this or I should be doing that, so that my mind was focused on something and maybe not so focused on, oops, I fucked up and should have done that. Although I know I did realize that some of the times. Red is not going to call for allies, because his calling for allies would potentially bring people with him. The question is, does blue want to? And does anybody want to join the alliance? Now, to some extent, joining the alliance makes sense, because if you don't have units in the warp, you're missing out on regaining pieces. But on the other hand, then I have to pay attention to all this shit. This gives me more points per token. This allows me to pick on anyone. So, like, there's this danger And I don't know. Luckily, I only have 2 players to choose from. And there is this special deck. By the way, that special deck, I think, is not there. I think it's in here. Reward deck variant, yeah. So these cards are only available in that deck. So kickers, if you want kickers, they're in there. A morph, the special crooked deals. Negative attack cards, probably not that useful, although there are powers that like them. The first question is blue going to call for allies? Yeah, why not? Allies is kind of a good thing, and you have to consider your hand of cards, because it can give you cards which allow you to keep going longer, or to hold on to your flares. I will put 1 in, and I don't know, purple. Purple's less interested in getting a card. I think they'll hold off. Okay. So we just did the alliances, but that means he's up. He can take a card and freeze it. You get a different card for that. We'll do that. Okay, another negotiate. May not need 2 of those. Now, I think we're at planning, but we just have to search everybody else. Alliance, that's only as a main player. Pygmy. Pygmy's things are worth less or something? No. No, his ships are still worth full. He's not like the opposite of Macron. I thought there was one that was smaller and worse. I certainly don't remember anything that generated that. Okay, Oracle forces the other player to play first for his encounter. So right now we're looking at 4 versus 3. And I might, I don't know. Might only happens on offense, I guess. Bully Wild. I have a shitty hand. As a main player, when your opponent reveals a negotiate, you can force that player to either give you a colony or that. Okay, I am going to play a negotiate as my choice. Now, that puts him in an interesting position. Cards will get stolen from me if I win this fight because of this. However, if we both negotiate, he's going to demand, you know, something from me. So I don't want to negotiate with him. What are his? Losing encounters, that's not going to happen. This is rewards. So I am going to play this 10-point attack card. Cosmic Zap can't kill a flare, right? No. Okay. All right. So then we evaluate, and I have won with 14 to negotiate. That will kill this. And I don't think anything impacts that. But it will also kill 2 of these. An equal number of other ships that other players have to lose. And I gotta close my camera off. I get a token for this. Token is worth 3 points plus or minus 3 to a battle. He has gained a thing. Yeah, we're only halfway through the turn. These will be discarded. I don't think that triggers anything, but I don't remember. He just has schizoid. But now he could play, when your opponent reveals a negotiate, that's not what I play. I don't have the might wild, I have the super. Okay. Wait. Did I? No, he was the one who had the super that worked, right? No. Something happened here. I cheated. I took a reinforcement I couldn't take. Right? When you use your power, you may take cards your opponent discards. As a result, look at them and add any or all of them to your hand. Ah, fuck. Yeah, this was not from his power. I don't remember what it was from. Was it? No, because that was the spin from this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I misread. Might should have been able to use that, but he didn't. Okay. So now we go back to, I get to kill 2 from someone. I am going to kill 2 of reds. They get to choose where they take them from. Going in here. And now we go back to regroup. And blue gets their cards back, including their flares. And again, when you're actually playing it, you're not having to assess this much shit, you know, because each person's in charge of their own thing. So you're not having to pick through everything and figure out what the fuck's going on. You generally do want to take another turn. This does not fire off, even though I think I fired it off too many times. Although, no, might was probably what was misused. But something fired off in the regroup for someone, didn't it? Maybe not, maybe not. Okay. So I think it's, that regroup allows me to take a thing back, right? That's when I get my ship back. Yeah. So I'll take one of these back. And now, and I have to be willing to make another attack, but the way the rules are worded now, I can do this without an attack card if I win. And then my turn just stops when I don't have an attack card or something like that. That's how I read the rules this time. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be you just stopped. You didn't get your piece back or something. I kind of like that better. Now it's Dictator's turn to pick a color. I don't know. Blue again. Red wants a new planet. So I'll point this way. I get to launch. Not going to invite allies. By the way, blue is down one. They got to pick something they get rid of. This is very powerful, but eventually it ends up not being so powerful. I think I'm going to get rid of Fury. I don't have the card for Fury either. That didn't happen over here because there are still purple pieces over there. Okay. I think we're on Alliance. I don't remember shit anymore. He has this take a spin. That's start of turn. Fury. I fucked up and I didn't give consolation, right? Put this here. I did not give consolation. He lost 2 with the negotiate card. He should get 2 of these at random. Got to be here somewhere. See, compensation. So this should have happened before. Randomly takes 1 card for each ship he's lost to the warp, not counting ally ships from the opponent's hand. Okay. What's important here is the flares are in there even if they were played already. So let's look and see what we got here. We would have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards. So 1, 2, 3 to begin with. So it's going to be a +6, or these last 3 cards here. And then it's going to be this card. And now we're at 8, which is not as cool. It's going to be the first 3 cards. We're going to get Pygmy, which is a reduction of rewards. So we get a couple of cards for losing our ships there. I think he still wants to go with his Oracle, since we already factored things in. Yeah, it's really hard to keep track of everything trying to play the solo. I'm thinking I'm going to quit, because I think I remember trying to do this before, trying to do the full CE experience, and it was just unplayable solo. And I'm feeling like I'm in that position again. And this is no fun for me. It's making me not want to play. And I don't know if I'm capable of playing this anymore as an opposed game, or of enjoying it as much as I did. But you can see the effect, like right away, boom, I lost one of my powers. I am now a weaker player for having lost even just a single planet in this. Another option would be to have the 3rd one take 1 away, the 4th one take 1 away, the 5th one take 1 away. But I wanted to incorporate that all your powers are stripped by the time you lose 3. And I liked the idea of the gradual weakening. So that's why I went with that flavoring. So red goes in like this. Once again, blue's going to call to allies. Green has dropped an ally in play. Purple's not convinced blue can win, so they also choose not to ally. And now red is going to use their Oracle again. See, the way they figure it is we get a shit ton of cards if we want them. Oh, and I have not been keeping score. This should be at 2. This should be at 1. It matters less, except for a guy who has a Cosmic Zap who could get rid of Schizoid long enough to win the game. Decides to negotiate again. Oh, red has Cryo again here. I could have used that. I'm going to actually freeze and negotiate before any of this happens and get a new card. Okay. I'm going to win the fight again. That means blue loses 3 pieces at this point. Red gets a second. And with blue losing 3 pieces, they get 3 draws from here. They get the powerful Cosmic Zap. They get the Flare. And they will get the Morph. A nice collection of cards. Red's in trouble, and they don't lose their cards at this point. I also get to inflict 3 losses, which I am going to inflict on red because red is the closest to winning the game at this point. So there go those. He didn't have anything new. These go there. This die will go over here. It'll be green's turn. That deck gets reshuffled. Still pushing on a little bit further. But, yeah. My feelings are that I'm not going to make it beyond this first time around. I actually shuffled this deck. I wasn't planning on doing that, but I was planning on randomizing elsewhere. First things first, we're on the green player. I remember there being something important about him that I needed to cope with, but I don't remember what it was. But let's take our spin and make sure. So now I'm less interested in it because I've lost all my flares. But this is mandatory. And I get 2 artifacts. I get to choose one of them. I've got a card zap, which isn't as powerful as the cosmic zap, I think. And this is also a very powerful screw somebody card. Unfortunately, I don't want to play it against blue. Blue has this stupid vacuum that hurts us. But we'll take that. I like that card, I guess. Yeah, you don't want to get caught in a consolation. That puts us to regroup. Green gets one of these back. I'll just put it somewhere. I want to see if sort of what the next thing is. We've got a launch on Might, but that's only as offense. Okay. So I believe we get our Destiny flip. And since I did shuffle them, I get a wild. I get to pick whichever color I want. Alright, I gotta think a little bit about what might help me. The main thing is that I can grudge people who I haven't invited. Or who haven't decided to go along with me. And if no matter what, they get hurt. But they get hurt more if I don't win. But I kind of want to win, and I kind of don't want to bring somebody along with me. Completely forgot about research. Let me do that as well. So he's got a 3 card. He's going to have enough tech to complete it. And I think I can do this right away. So basically I put a ship here, and then I get these 2 ships back. And that fills me up. That gets me this. I can free ships from the warp. But I can hold this on my own. And this is happening at the start of the turn. I'm pointing the cone and choosing my color. There are a number of different interesting options here. Red doesn't have a lot of cards, and I know what they picked up, this plague, which would suck. I'd probably face that if I hit them. So they have a weak planet. Everybody put a point into their into their technology. They have a weak planet, but may not be the best choice. My grudge allows me to bring people with me. That is an appeal to attack something like this, because I could invite red along where they don't really want to go, but I couldn't. And also blue's not going to lose any ships from that, which means it kind of negates their special ability. Now, he had a special ability too. As a main player, you get to choose which ships your opponent loses. That fucking sucks. And he gets to use an additional card. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to point it here. Attacking blue. Now, blue's might is only offense. This is ship loss, so I don't have to worry about too much. But he has a fucking huge hand, which I do have to worry about. What is my hand like? Yeah, that's an interesting question. I have a card zap. which allows me to negate a flare or artifact, but not the other thing. I have Grudge. Now I think I'm only allowed to put like 2 things in the... Each of your homeworlds counts as only 4. When determining... there can never be more than 4 ships on any of your planets. I think that's home planets. Okay. If Schizoid Wild, at the end of any counter you can switch home systems. That's very troublesome, and also I don't think I want to do it. I have this, which doesn't really help me. When we hit alliances, I am going to invite Red. Red doesn't really want to attack. But on the other hand, the Grudge marker could hurt me more than putting a ship in. Green is allowed to have 4 dudes on other planets. It's just these are pygmy planets, I guess. Oh, let me look at his, see if he has anything that makes him affect this. I have Might Super, which isn't in effect. I don't know. This discarding reserves, this is the thing that got me that reserve card that I should have had. Right? Reserve? Yeah, that reinforcement card I should have had that I took back. Now I see why I should have had it. Okay, so we'll put that in his hand again. Right? That was the reserve card. The Might Super doesn't work. Pygmy Wild. When a player collects rewards, he may only take half as many. That's rewards, not the other thing. If a Cosmic Zap, I could stop a power. I don't really care about that. And I have Fury Wild. I don't think Fury is what I had here. Oh yeah, it was. But I can't use the super for this. As a main player, when you lose an encounter, you can destroy 1 ship belonging to each player that opposed you. These are removed from the game. Okay, this is an interesting factor for Red. I think they lost this card, so they probably don't want to go in on the Alliance. They probably want to suffer Grudge instead, but this is horrible because I got a pile of ships in there, but removed from the game is bad, right? Okay, before we get to alliances, though, I have to settle some ships in here. I don't think I can win a fight very easily. So I'm going to just put 2 ships in. I'm going to invite Red as an ally. And then the defender gets to invite allies as well. I do have this, which reduces the amount of rewards people would have, rounded down. Who knows about that? Again, I think Red knows about that. This is one of the problems is cards that you remember that other people have. And again, this is something you can forget very easily in the midst of opposed play. But what's difficult is tracking. Yeah, I mean, this was just taken from me. But like later on, there's going to be this kind of, hey, do you remember what he has? You know, what's going on with that? And there's nothing prohibiting table talk or whatever. So quite often somebody will say, oh, you don't want to support him on defense because he can cut your rewards from that. For blue, I no longer have any any negotiations, which really kind of worked well for me. In terms of matching what people could do or something, it was a strategy that was working, at least on my attacks. I'd rather keep my good cards for attacks, which is kind of interesting. I am going to invite everybody to ally with me. Red doesn't particularly want cards. They're going to stay out of this. And they get a grudge token, which is immediately dealt with. There's a lot of them. Many more than the amount of players that are available, but that handles the expansion of the game. I got to think about purple as well. He can ally his way in afterwards, which is intriguing. The attacker has chosen his face-down card. He did not choose to defend either, for various reasons. Blue, do they really care about winning this? Not terribly. So they're not going to use a good card. They're going to use this card. Now we have the reveal. This only as a main power. This is something Dune has too, where it's like same initial designers, where you have like sometimes the capability to do things as the main player, sometimes as an ally. The alliance rules in that are more structured. So the defender has a 4, the attacker has a 16. Now, reinforcements can be played as kind of an iterative thing. I could get myself up to 15, but that's the best I can do. So I'm going to take the loss, and of course he's not going to go in. Since none of my ships were lost, my vacuum doesn't take play, and green gets a base here. I have so many of these. I lost an encounter. I can destroy a ship. Whenever you lose an encounter, you can destroy a ship that green put into play. Now, who gets to pick this? Their own choice. So I would rather lose one of these. And that's just gone from play. There might be something that returns those. Feels a lot like the Void in a lot of ways. Nobody got rewards. I did not do that. Bully's not me. And might doesn't apply. As we slowly go through the whole list, and this puts it back to green. They can take another encounter. They get to regroup. If that had just been a lost green counter, green ship, I would get it back, but it's gone from the game. So it's not in there. And now I have one of these. And again, we don't know what the victory conditions are, right? Because Schizoid has them. And we flip another one of these. This is a special, have an encounter with the player who has the most cards in hand other than you. Okay, well, I got to count everybody's hand. I think it's blue, but I'm not sure. We had a problem here. We had a grudge. If you win the encounter or make a deal, each player with a grudge discards it and loses one ship of his choice to the warp. So red will have to lose yet another ship. I could take off here, but I want to complete that. I've got a shot at blue. They have the most cards. We'll target over there. And I will do very much what I did before, going in here, inviting red as an ally, and I think really the decisions up until card time are pretty much the same. Red is hating what's happening to them here. But, I mean, they could put a ship in. You know what? I will help. I'll put a ship in this time. Because even if I win, I lose a ship, so I might as well put it there. It's okay, I guess. It's a fucked up interaction here. At the end of any counter, you may switch home systems and therefore player colors with any other player of your choice. Afterwards, discard this flare. In every previous iteration of this game, that didn't mean much, because things could be where they want it to be. The question is, what does it mean with the tech? I think the tech, I don't know. Like, those ships are aligned to finding this tech. I think the tech that they're being researched with has to go over to the player that's researching them. I don't think all tech switches hands. I think just any tech with ships researching it has to switch hands. Which is kind of fucked up. But it's the only way that I can resolve that particular capability. And this is weird, you know? Tech was a core rule in this. And I don't think that there's anywhere in here that they discuss what happens if those ships like switch sides or something. But yeah, I mean, this feels like in the original game, there's stuff that's just not covered, and you have to kind of intuit what the possible meaning is and house roll it. That's why Red didn't want to go in there. Red doesn't want to go in there because they don't want to have ships destroyed. And this is really potent, right? Blue has a flare which can destroy ships. Now, card zap could be used against this. But that doesn't get rid of the... Oh, the flare effect must then be discarded. Oh, I should have used that first. That would have been... You know what? Give me my ship back. I am indeed going to card zap that. That's just too potent a thing. And the fact that I want to hit him again, I don't want to have that. Hey, if I lose a battle. Now, the thing is, that flare goes back in. But somebody else might get it. But it might be me, you know? Anyway, we've got to, like, playing in this sort of circumstance, I've got to be able to rewind stuff and fix stuff because it's just too clumsy. Like, I just can't keep track of everything. And I wouldn't expect that to happen in an opposed game, but I don't know that this can be played solo where I'm not that confused. Again, part of why I don't think I'm going to play through much of this, because it's just not suitable for solo. You know, I had this feeling before. Then means he has the grudge on him again. And we reveal. We have a strength of 2 to a strength of 0. Now things are different. I could beat him off. Here's the thing. I can probably win fights with these. I don't know that I really want to beat him, right? And I don't know that I really want to spend cards. When it comes around to my turn, I think I can get stuff off of it, and I don't want to get myself in a position where I'm losing all my flares. So once again, I'm going to let him win. Okay, red would have gone along with this if that had been flare zapped. Red would have gone along. So there's another red ship here. Okay. He's actually at 2 down. Shit. Wow. I don't know. That's pretty harsh. I forgot to kill one of these off. I think this declining is not working terribly well. I may have played around with this idea before. It might make more sense to have power go away at 3, power go away at 2, power go away at 1. So, because losing all your powers in a 3-power game is really, really painful to have it happen all at once. And it's not that hard for people to gang up on your stuff. And in fact, green could have beaten up and tried to kill blue of their 3rd planet and take yet another power away. Take that one away, I guess. This didn't hurt him because those were made through deals. That's the end of green's turn, I believe. And blue gets their hand of cards back. We're going to break, and again, I really don't think, I think I'm going to go through the cycle. Not even sure why, but see purple here. But yeah, I think my experiment with like taking 1 power away with each planet is not a good one. The next thing I would consider is taking a power away with the 3rd, 4th, and 5th planets, rather than taking them all away on the 3rd. Again, I don't know which makes more sense. We never played that way. We always played all your powers go away on the 3rd planet, however many you had. And this version of the rules doesn't have multiple powers. And I think I looked in the original and I didn't see multiple powers there either. I don't know whether that was just a house rule that we used, that was pretty commonly used, I think, or if it was added in one of the expansions and was just too cool not to play with, kind of thing. But anyway, we're up here. As I bumble my way along, green has gained its 2nd location. Nobody has anything where they pollute a planet. Like there's things like filth and stuff where you can't live on the same planet as them, which makes them very, very interesting to the effects on the game, and ends up causing more planets to get hit. Because here, for example, I can bring red along with me and get an extra ship or whatever, and that's just cool, you know? And we're at the beginning of what I think is going to be my last turn on this. Bandit gets his draw. I got 2 encounter cards. Now, see, fuck them. I've been doing this wrong. So, attack and negotiate are different kinds of cards according to them. I thought we went by the top, which would be really problematic, like, which is what I've been doing, right? But instead I got a nothing draw. So it's 3 different types. I have to discard a card of my choice from my hand, which is what I probably would have had to do before. I'll throw a negotiate away. Yeah, I misunderstood. I thought the thing on top is the type. It's not. And therefore, it's like almost impossible to get 2 of the same kind of cards. Because, like, 2 artifacts, they have to have the same title to them. Which is just not going to happen. So his power just became a lot weaker as I read it. Then the next thing is feeding these. Now he's got a 4 he can grab. He'll put that there. declares that it's resolved, I think. This is an OR, so I think actually I have to put that fourth one on there and let it sit. It's not completed yet, and I think everybody's going to put a point on. I didn't put anything on because he doesn't have another. He's not able to get a tech card from this. You have to basically pass your second attack to do it. Now you can do that, especially if you're out of cards already, which is kind of a nice time to do it. At this point, Destiny is looking to see. I don't think there's anything there. Yeah, we're at the point where he gets to pick one of the color cards for him to attack. If I pick over here, I could be taken as an ally, so I don't particularly want to take blue, so I'm going to pick red, see if maybe I get called along. Time to call for allies, and purple doesn't really want to call any allies because everyone's got two things. I bring a person to a third one and then they discard their cards and they're going to win the game. Red, on the other hand, is unsure. Now, this is done at the start of an encounter. A start of an encounter is a regroup. This is not particularly, like, I can't use it to weaken the guy who's attacking me. It's usually best used, honestly, you just don't know who you can use it against because of where it's done. It's done so early in the turn. This used to not be timed like that, and you used to be able to use it to soften up your opponent. I don't like when they chose for this card to be accessible anymore. I feel like you're walking in without enough knowledge. Now, you can always beat up on a guy who's close to winning, but purple is not the guy I'd want to hit with this. However, this might be a card that I want to put in cryo just because it's so useless right now. Nobody's probably close to winning. Hard to tell. 3 or 4 planets in whatever condition he has might do that. So as we get to the call to alliance, when is it done? We're going to do that and draw another card, and we get an attack card. Fine, that keeps us alive longer. We're not really interested in being alive longer because all our flares were taken. Bully is nasty. If I have to play an attack card and that's all I have in my hand, that wouldn't have helped me. But I get to see what he plays first. Now, this is the weird call, okay? Actually, before a play, do I want to call for any allies? Yes, I will call for allies. How does green feel about this? Defensive allies are an interesting thing if you want to stay in there. And Schizoid Wild is a cool card. Although the timing of it does become kind of interesting. When do you declare you won the game? That's not clear in here. Is it during resolution or after resolution? After resolving, once the effects discard the revealed encounter. If the offense won the encounter and this was his or her first encounter, they can go again. Doesn't say it there. Shared wins through alliances. More than one player gain 5 at the same time. Interestingly enough, I don't see something that indicates when you determine victory. And this is... Oh, this is interesting. It's not the loss of planets that's listed here, but the number of planets you hold. The player doesn't have at least 3 or more home colonies, which means this is a huge advantage, having this 10 things. It's not lost at 3. Interesting. Now I'm completely lost as to where I want it to go. Purple could stop allies. I have pretty good cards. See, here's the thing. The first attack I want to win, which might mean I want to play my big 40 on that. Since I'm picking on red, and he has Oracle, but red doesn't have a lot of cards. On the other hand, holding something like a big old 40 is really, really useful for being able to get to a victory. You know, this would be my 3rd planet thing if I could figure out a way to get rid of my hand. I seem to have lost my way to get rid of my hand. The reserve allows me to boost things, so if I don't win, I can go again and throw another card. Now, what I'd really like to do is negotiate and cut a deal. Unfortunately, I put this here. If red beats me, I lose 4 ships. Yes, I get consolation. 4 ships isn't good. That doesn't give me much. So without knowing that he has that, I don't want to play that. I'm going to play the 8. The 8 is essentially face up because Oracle gets to see it. He's looking at 12 to 1. I put it to 21 to 1. Cards are revealed now, or 21 to 12. I don't want to lose this first one, so I have to play the 30 to beat him. Attack cards were played by both players. I'm the bully. I get to choose where red loses a power, a piece. It has to be off a planet, I believe. I don't think I can take it off here. That's not it. You can take from anywhere. I'll take from here. I'll reduce his capability to get his tech. That seems more valuable. I can't wipe out one of his planets. And that'll give me... I've landed. I haven't taken anything from him. And now I get to cycle back in. And I think this is when you get to play the fucking tech, and I keep fucking this up. No, it's the start of... Oh, it's the start of the regroup phase, yeah. So everybody gets to drop a tech in play. Well, I'm at my 4. I want to reveal the Enigma. I can play this. I can discard this at the start of anybody to reset cards. I don't want to do that right now because this is actually, oddly enough, my victory condition. is tied to that, maybe, sort of, kinda. I have one of these, and we continue on. Other people are going to pay their tech out. What I was kind of disturbed about was the timing of the Schizoid Wild here. Normally it's fine. You see somebody's got 5 victory points, you can grab it, and then you can declare victory instead of them. I got no problem with that. But here, Schizoid might be revealing that they have victory, using their own power, and then the question becomes, can you trump in with Schizoid Wild and steal their color, which would be a horrible thing to do for this player in a lot of ways. But I would no longer have the victory because I wouldn't have met their qualifications as they stand right now. And it's kind of a, yeah, and something's been revealed that he won. Like, if you're able to do it to reverse who wins, I guess you're able to do it after Schizoid reveals who won at the same time and prevent them from the victory. So I think timing-wise, it works out just the same. It just feels a little more complicated because there is this other step in there where the victory has been exposed. What is the dictator going to choose? Well, once again, we can't pick purple. We don't want to pick, I mean, we could pick purple, but then that just burns a purple. We don't want to pick blue because things could get directed here, and that's no fun. So we pick red again. I don't know why nobody allied before, but again, purple doesn't want to call for allies. It's going to put people too close. Red got beaten last time. We think we can win this one. This happens when there's 8 of these. We are going to, again, not call for allies. Whatever non-thought we had for not calling for allies, we feel fine with not calling for allies again. And something happens here. During the call for allies, I can bury this card. I don't know. I want to keep them in the same direction, and it kind of looks different on the two. I draw another one. It's a reinforcement. That can actually be blocked by reserve. 4-1 here. A negotiate is not that bad if he plays a negotiate. But if he does, we didn't want to have 4 in here. So I'm going to put a big 6 forward. I'm allowed to reserve that. He doesn't want to lose. He'll put a 30. That puts me in an ugly position where I have to either blow the big 40 I don't have a lot of good cards. I wish I had a way to dump my cards without giving up my victory condition situation. I'm allowed to throw another attack card in. I don't think taking the win is that valuable here. I don't know why I thought a 6 would win me it. I'm going to take the hit. That doesn't trigger bully. Bully only works when I win. And that's going to move things back over to the blue. Now, we've gone through an entire cycle of all the players. We're closer to somebody winning than we would be normally because Schizoid dropped it down to 3. I'm not thrilled with how this has worked. As per previous times that I've played this, yes, it can be soloed. It's a little too much. It's a little too much. It's just, you know, it's like, first of all, part of it's like trying to solo a card game, because you've got these competitive cards and these decisions that you're trying to make on other people and everything, and they're just not great choices. You have to be a main player for this. Yeah. I'm not happy because I'm holding a reinforcement. That's great. It comes around to me again. I get to dump my hand, which is exactly what I want to do. Sweet. Yeah, I just don't feel like it's terribly playable in this kind of solo fashion. The game's obviously not designed for that. You know, it's this card game where you're using hidden knowledge and everything, and yes, somebody like the Oracle makes that easier. I don't have to worry about it, but I do have to worry about it with other things. I don't particularly like the option that I used. I might, you know, want to try something where it's at the back end at 3, 2, 1. You lose capabilities more slowly. The thing with that is you don't lose enough, I think, at that point. So, like, you lose your power, right? After after being dropped down below 3 planets. Here, you're losing your weakest power. I actually like this conceptually better, but it does feel like players who are losing planetary holdings are getting knocked down a little too quickly in comparison to the other players. I remember it being easier to, like, not lose your flares. Somebody with a handful of flares, they become a really good target for compensation. And I don't remember that being a major component previously, but I don't think the rules have changed in that fashion. Negotiate generates compensation, etc. Tech is kind of an interesting little add-on. You know, I don't know how it feels. I'm okay with it, but I don't feel like, you know, it's another thing to the game, right? Like, I was impressed with adding powers and creating some kind of synergy within the powers. I think maybe the tech is some attempt to do that, but not giving somebody constant additional powers that are terribly powerful. I kind of like the multiple powers. I think 2 is probably good enough to give a huge range of different capabilities out there without overloading it. I feel like the 3 kind of overloads it. I wanted the 3 because of the lose 1 per planet that you lose control over. Which allows you a little bit of the, hey, you know, you get to pick which one you lose. So it's kind of like, you know, draw 3, pick 2, or something along those lines. Because it's very easy to lose planets. Like this situation where we've got only 1 person having lost a couple of planets, that is a very rare situation. Losing your 3rd planet, though, you're usually willing to fight pretty hard for that. And here it feels like you have to fight hard for every planet. Which I don't mind. They're your home planets, damn it. I don't know. It just feels really unfair that 1 person has lost 2 of their powers already, and everybody else is full up. But I think that has to do with some of the some of the choices that came into play, right? Like Bully picking on this instead of knocking out a planet and taking away power. Which power would go away? Well, I'm a lot less convinced that Bandit's a good power now that I see how it actually works. And that's another thing. I fucked up some stuff. I have not played enough of this version to be able to give you a good review of the game. The intro gives you plenty of how I thought about the old game, and honestly, as has been stated, this is closer to the original and maybe a little bit polished up, some of the really crazy stuff taken out, than anything, certainly than the Avalon Hill Hasbro version, certainly than the original Eon version, which is all I have is that first original base game. The Mayfair version was too polished up and too cleaned up and too sanitized. It just didn't do enough. It wasn't the chaos that I liked. The game is about the chaos. I think the only interesting thing I would find by playing this again, and I may play it again, in a few days, to be honest, but in an opposed circumstance. That was the plan. Playing it again is going to give me a better view of, hey, do I still like this game? And that's a big question. Like, me in my 20s was so excited by the, oh wow, that's weird, and oh wow, you can pull this out of your ass, and not in terms of rules so much as interactions between powers and the cards you have and the flares and all this. There was a lot of, I got no fucking idea what's going to happen type of chaos in this game. You try to do something and all kind of weird, crazy shit happens. And that was the joy to the game. I don't know if I'm still that same person in that way. I had never seen anything like this before. Got a kick out of playing it. It was fun. It was hilarious. A lot more hilarious than anything else that I was playing. Except maybe traditional card games. I feel like those had a huge fun value that I honestly just don't get out of the modern Euro, etc. In the same way, because I felt like, the misunderstandings, it was in a simpler structure of a game, and they could create massive misplays and misunderstandings that were hilarious, to be honest. Yeah, I'm going to clean this up, and there's not going to be a review. I don't know if I come back on Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever and give some words about, that. I didn't talk about Dune Imperium. My attitude while I was playing it was kind of, oh, they told me this is worker placement. I'm not going to like it. And, oh, there's a lot of chaos going on in terms of the leaders that are out there. And I can't really pay attention and come up with a strategy the way I could, say, in Dominion, where, it was very, very easy to just kind of zone out on the 10 cards that are available and figure out a strategy based on them. Instead, I'm facing a constantly fluid, okay, what does this card do? Where, kind of like Cosmic Encounter, you kind of have to know everything that's out there. Now, in CE, it's worse because, like the flares, unless you've memorized them all, you don't know. You don't know what's present in the deck and how much devastating effect some of these cards can have. And there were other things like that, like the moons and whatnot. So, anyway, what I found with Dune Imperium was that kind of the available things that I could buy was too random and too much. You gotta just play the game to get used to what it's going to throw at you. as opposed, and I feel like CE does the same sort of thing. Although CE, with its huge number of powers and all its stuff, is trying to provide that chaos again and again. In a way that's kind of interesting, another Eon game that works on the, hey, you got a huge advantage if you know everything that's in the components of the game, was Quirks. Quirks, I don't think I've done a review of it yet. It's a really cool game the first time you face it, because you can kind of intuit what critters are going to work well in what kind of environments. And that's helpful, but you don't know for sure until you pull the little secret score thing and find that out. But after a few playings, you really know well what works where. And there might still be a few surprises, but basically, because it used hidden strength based on the environments that were there, the hidden information wasn't as chaotic as it is in something like this, where, man, there's just a ton of hidden chaotic information. There's the quality of the hands, there's the interactions of the powers, which are face up, maybe, but you don't know what the hell's in them. There's the flares, some of which you might not know because you might have dealt them in extra from the powers that are revealed. I didn't do that, but that's a possibility. And in the original, there were things like moons that were just completely hidden and could do really nasty stuff. There was the Big Bang and the Bigger Bang, which, like, I think just ended the game. And nobody wins, which feels kind of pathetic. It's like, we just wasted time. Yeah. So one thing about this is they've created sort of an amount of overload of information and chaos that's possible that makes it really, really hard to dissect the game and play well, right? Your playing well had to do with kind of reacting to the chaos, and some of it might be right in front of you, like with multiple powers. Some of it might be sitting right there where you're like, whoa, I don't believe that worked well, right? And it's almost, something that I really object to now, which is, what is the game state, right? What powers do people have and everything? And I went into Dune Imperium without really understanding anybody's powers. Even my own were hard enough for me to understand. But here, the interactions can create capabilities and whatnot that, like, you just don't realize how potent they can possibly be. All right, we're gonna just stop there, load it up, because again, I don't think I'm having any fun, or I'm having fun. I'm not having enough fun to justify the amount of effort that I have to go through to deal with secret playing of cards and secret hands and all this shit, along with all the game state that I have to deal with at the same time. But I think I gave, some view of how it all kind of plays out. Just, it's going to get wackier, is all I'm saying. And people are going to start getting stripped of powers as they lose planets.